It's Halloween season. What's your favorite monster? What's your go-to monster that really puts you in the mood? Well, mine happens to be vampires. And I finished up an audiobook that was 27 hours long, which is a lot more than I ever usually give books. For one, I actually took a chance on it, but Empire of the Vampire, written by Kristoff and narrated by Damian Lynch, has been put me in the Halloween spirit and has been one of the best audiobooks I have ever listened to. So I finished this book about 2 weeks ago. This was my constant companion for about a month and a half in my car. My commute's not that long, so I don't go through them very fast. And this, I'll warn you right now, I do have kids and I do not listen to this book with the kids in the car. This is very much an adult book. Now, what is this about? So vampires are at their best, in my opinion, when they're in more ancient and medieval times. The modern vampire tales I've always had a little bit harder time getting into. So this is, you got swords, this is full on riding horses. There's no technology. So you've got our vampire. His name is Gabriel de Leon. And he is captured and being interviewed before we assume his execution. And he tells a story. He really tells two different stories. He tells one as about him getting recruited into the Silver Saints. And so what he was born a vampire. His dad was a vampire, mom was a human. And what this group of Silver Saints do is they are vampire hunters. They protect people. They are disgusted by who they are, and they just want nothing more than to find a way to redeem what they think is an awful part of themselves. And what makes them really pretty bad is they're covered in silver tattoos. And when they get into a fight, these tattoos shine. So the first story is when he's young and he gets recruited into these Silver Saints, trying to earn his way up. And then the second part is after he's left the Saint. We learn as the story goes on, piece by piece, as to why he left. He's not sure what his interviewer wants to know. He thinks he does, so he kind of leads him back and forth and bounces around between the two stories. The interviewer is a vampire who wants to understand because they say he's the one that killed the Forever King. As he's telling his story, he is a smartass. He treats his interviewer like crap. He makes it known he absolutely hates vampires. Another cool thing in this book that I've never heard from other vampire stories is that they smoke the blood of vampires to keep their hunger pains, because he is half vampire after all. So this is a pretty long one. And if you read the book is, I believe, is over 800 pages. What I loved about this is a brutal vampire story. There's a little bit of a love story, which I think vampires always need, just that twinge to keep it from going too dark. And he's got a very brutal way of telling the story. He's, like I mentioned, it's an adult story. There's some the way they describe the sword fights. The narrator does a perfect job of changing his tone depending on the situation. And he especially excels at the voice of Gabriel, which is important because he is the main character. You have some side characters, especially I found the Silver Saints to be very interesting. And then the story as he's an adult, that one goes a little slow at first, but then it severely picks up towards the end. And you also hear little hints of him kind of wondering maybe he can get out of his situation. So my number one critique of this book is there's not a book 2 yet. So it does leave you wanting more at the end, which any book should. So there's not a satisfactory ending. I believe this is going to be a series. But other than that is my only complaint. This is a great, long, dark vampire tale where you really have to pay attention because some characters will come back. Some characters there's some really good character growth. And I don't want to give any spoilers because I feel like you want to feel the story unfold organically, not with anything that I've said to you in my review. But what I would love is after you check it out, come back and chat with it because I don't know anybody that's actually read or listened to this. And obviously I can't talk to my kids about it because they're not allowed to watch it. And my audiobook reviews haven't been very successful in the view department, but I really hope that in the spirit of Halloween, you check it out. And then if you do, let me know what you think. Was this the greatest vampire tale you've ever been told? I think it ranks right up there for a lot of the ones that I like, for sure. Another one that I thought was pretty good was Impact Winter. That was a little more of a modern vampire tale, but similar in that it was dark and definitely not as adult as this one. So, are you a fan of Jay Kristoff? I've been looking at other books to possibly listen to or read of his. If so, give me a suggestion below. His writing style entertained me for sure, at least for this book. And so, if he's this good, he must have other stories that are really great, because I am a story lover at heart. Make sure to subscribe to this because you want to be there when book 2 comes out and I can give my review for book 2. I don't know when that is. It might be a couple years. So we can get to know each other as you watch my videos, because when you watch them, you're going to find something to brag about.